Guys, welcome back to another video. So we're doing a bit of testing on the Krytac kriss vector. What we're going to do is going to do a gas efficiency test and see what we get. So I've got the magazine, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fully charge it with green gas, and we're just going to try semi-auto shots until it's out of gas and see what we get. So I'm going to charge this up. I'm going to try that now. So I have fully charged it with gas. Now, you wouldn't ordinarily completely fully charge these with gas. You would normally go to a certain point and then leave it. But I have gone full on this one because I just want to see what we get. So I'm going to pop this in, charge it, and I'm going to be holding this down. Now, I really need to try and keep this upright-ish. So, unfortunately, the way my camera's set up here, it doesn't really allow me to do this very well. So I'm just going to open the stock and I'm going to try and do it at an angle and we'll see what we get. Okay, so I might fast forward this slightly so we can get some kind of idea as to how many shots we're going to get. Hopefully it'll be quite a few. Safety off. So I chose to fast forward this just because it wasn't that interesting. So, but we'll be back to the video quite soon. The reason why I left it in and didn't just clip it out was that I wanted you guys to see it was all one take. So should be back to the video. 3, 2, 1. Okay, there we go. So I counted there, we got to about 110 before it's completely gassed out. We started to get some double feeds and then, Now, it's worth bearing in mind that obviously this is an unrealistic test. You wouldn't run it down as low as that, but I'm keen to see if we can improve on this. Like I say, I have some upgrades which hopefully should improve the efficiency. Overall, 100 odd shots out of this is pretty good, really, considering. So the nozzle I don't think is too cold. The sort of everything else feels okay temperature-wise. Mag is freezing cold, obviously. But I'm going to charge this again, and I'm going to just try a full auto burst and see what we get. How long it will run full auto before it will sort of gas out bursts or just continuous. That seems to be full now. So what we'll do is we'll let this warm up and recover, and then we'll try it again shortly. Okay, guys, so I've let this recover. Magazine is kind of room temperature now. So we're just going to try an auto, see what we get. I could do 2-round burst, but to be fair, we're just going to stick it on auto, see what we get. This is where this system seems to struggle, apparently. So I'm going to be holding the bolt catch down so we can run it in auto. All right, so safety off. And that didn't last very long at all. Could have been too cold. It was still, that bolt is absolutely freezing. Like you can see, it's frozen. Literally, there is ice on it. As you can see, on semi-auto, it works great. On auto, it's terrible. The cooldown is just ridiculous. So we want to try and improve on this if we can. First things first, we're going to have a look at the some of the upgrades we're going to be doing. I've showed you what we've got so far, but we want to have a quick look and see the difference between the Bowmaster sort of carrier unit versus the stock one. So we're going to pull this apart and have a quick look. Then take this bottom pin out here. And then our carrier comes out. Now notice it doesn't come out with the bolt carrier like the KWA does. So straight away, I actually thought that the carrier might sort of fit into these guides here, but I'm not sure it does because it looks like it's the same size. So I wonder if it's just there for show. I mean, weight-wise, this is definitely heavier. But, the spring on this one is really, really soft. Spring on this one is a lot heavier. So it's going to really increase the rate of fire. Downside is it's probably not going to be great for efficiency. So let's just have a quick look and see how this will go in and see what it will do in relation to this. Yeah, I don't think it's designed to take the bolt. I don't think it is. I think it's just designed to do what the original did. So this does not use these guides because there's no way it can. The KWA, if you remember, the bolt comes out the bottom here, whereas on the Krytac the bolt actually just comes out the rear. So it just comes straight out the rear. So it can't use these sort of tracks. We'll slap it in, see what kind of a difference it makes, if any. It might make absolutely zero difference. And it might even just make it worse. So we'll pop this in. Now it's worth bearing in mind you're supposed to fit the other nozzle spring as well, which I haven't done yet. So that is on my list to do. I mean, if we try racking the bolt back, well, it does feel a lot smoother. Definitely smoother, and we've still retained the bolt catch. So the bolt lock is still functioning as it should. So we'll pop this back in. So that feels a lot smoother. The other one was very gritty. That feels a hell of a lot smoother. I'm waiting for the magazine to recover. Let's have a look at some of the visual upgrades that I've got. So first things first then, I thought we'd try having a quick look at this barrel. So I don't think I'm going to need to remove anything other than just the barrel by the looks of things. So I shouldn't need to remove the actual internals from their frame. Now the thread on the thread protector is really tough. There's a lot of thread lock on these apparently, so we'll need to try and get that off. A bit of heat will hopefully help. So we'll do that in the vise outside, but to get the outer barrel out, there are 2 Allen key screws there. Yeah, quite a lot of thread lock on that. Looks like it is just blue thread lock, they just used quite a lot of it. So that little panel's come out and the barrel hopefully should slide out now. Doesn't seem to want to come out. Okay, so I think we're going to end up removing the internals from the body then. That's probably the next course of action if that's the case. We do also need to remove this block, which is for the bolt catch if we're removing it from the body. 2, 3. There's all 4. That should now lift out. There we go. Quite a long screw, which is good. And then out that comes. So there's your internals. Now, I do have a KWA AEG body somewhere, which I'll get out shortly and just sort of compare the differences between the two. But right, so here's our frame. Now, this is what all the tracks and everything run in. You can see the guides in here. This is what the carrier runs inside. And if you want to see basically how it operates, if I pop that inside there, I can pop the pin through and you can kind of see how the system operates. So if we go to cock it, now the charging handle won't return, which will be a shame here. But if I go to cock it from this side, you can see that the bolt travels backwards and the carrier goes down and it stops on the stoppers there. And then obviously the spring will assist it to push forwards. Now you can see that having done that and then letting go of it, it doesn't just spring forwards. It is sticking a bit. Now, one thing I've noticed with this so far is if I cock this back, if you look in here, just underneath that charging handle, these are the guides that this bolt carrier moves in. And you can see some very uneven wear. That's the same on both sides. So I think if we get in there and polish those guides and use maybe some graphite powder, we can improve this massively, and that will really help it travel. But for now anyway, we're here to deal with this outer barrel. Now you can see here I actually decided to take the side plate off here, but it turns out I didn't need to do that, which is a shame. But you'll see further here how we have to get the barrel out. I was kind of hoping that it might just, you know, let go, but I think we're just going to have to take the adjuster back a bit. And then, yeah, there we go. Okay, that was the problem. So I didn't need to remove this rail. I could have just undone the adjuster, and that would have popped the barrel out. So let's have a quick look at our hop unit then and see what we have in here. So we have what looks like a plastic arm, which, yeah, is just a TDC hop. So as we're pressing down, it's obviously protruding through the top there. It appears to be like just a flat nub or a flat contact patch, but it is just your standard style VSR bucking, so we could change that quite easily if we wanted to. Looks like it's retained by 2 grub screws either side, so we'll get those out. We should be able to remove this then, hopefully. Okay, hopefully now. There we go. There's our barrel. Now what's nice to see is they have put an O-ring on the front here. There is a hell of a lot of oil in here though, which is weird. They put an O-ring on the front there, which is obviously just to sort of help stabilise. There's our hop unit, which is all ABS. I would say it's not plastic though. It definitely looks like some form of ABS, which is good. There's a little retaining clip there. So if you want to change inner barrel, it's not too bad. Not terrible to do. Right, so while we're here, let's have a quick look at getting the charging handle out. Look at that, just comes straight out. And I say this is an aluminium affair. Now, let's have a quick look at the Bowmaster one. Here it is. It is already got all the springs in it, which is nice. There it is. And perfectly replicates it. Yep, spot on, don't see any differences there. Very good. Nice. Okay, so we'll put that over one side. And now that should slide in. Lovely, just like so. So that's gone in there nicely. Let's have a quick look at our outer barrel. Now notice the outer barrel does not come with a thread protector. You're supposed to reuse the original. I can't say I'm a huge fan of this the thread protector on the end of this outer barrel, but it is quite a thick barrel by comparison. So just putting a normal thread protector on, you're probably going to have a bit of a step down. But it's nice that it is steel. And again, it doesn't matter. You see so little of the outer barrel anyway, but it just adds a bit more weight to the front, a bit more realism. But everything appears to be exact. We don't need to reuse the screws by the looks of things. We've got some here, so that's good to see. So let's put the barrel back in. Notice it goes around one way. If you look at the hop unit, you've got a shorter part here and a longer part here. We've got a shorter cut out here and a longer cut out there. So that will give you an idea as to which way around it has to go. Okay, so a bit of resistance going in here because this is obviously tight. So right, let's put a bit of oil down the barrel then. That'll be easier. At least then there'll be a bit to help it along. It's quite a rough finish, so that's probably not going to help. Yeah, got some oil in there now, so hopefully this will go together a bit better now. Yeah, there we go. Just needed that little bit of help with the oil. Okay. Right, so that's together. So this can hopefully now just go back into position. Yeah, straight in. Good to see. If we wind this down a bit, that should retain it, hopefully. seems to be okay. All right, so now we've got this to this point, we might as well fit our plate back in with our screws. Okay, there we go. So that is our Bowmaster steel outer barrel fitted and our Bowmaster steel charging handle. So they're all in nicely now. Let's clean all this off. I haven't had a chance to give this a good clean yet, so I think what I'll do is I'll give it a good old clean up, and then when we put it back together, we'll use the graphite powder. Now, a lot of people say you want to sand the top of the edge of the bolt here to stop it cutting into the nozzle, and I can actually see, if we look at the nozzle here, you can see there is a divot at the top here where it has been doing exactly that. So that's something that we probably want to remedy at some point. It looks like the nozzle might have actually been filed. Yeah, actually it has. Someone has filed that nozzle to stop that happening. So who knows, that might never happen now. It looks like it is clearing it, to be fair. Well, I guess that's one way to solve the problem. You know, I'm not going to do the nozzle return just yet, because we obviously, when we do that, we want to do our O-ring as well. So I just want to put it back together and see what we've got as is. One thing that I wanted to look at when we got this apart is if there was any binding back here, which, I mean, there doesn't seem to be any in this, in the rail, but there's definitely some back here. Now, on the KWA, what they do is there is a, well, this is quite loose. That's a bit worrying. That shouldn't be that loose. What they have done at the top of the KWA is there was a aftermarket spreader that was available, and what it did is it just added a little bit more thickness here, which just spreaded the top of the receiver slightly, which just assisted the action. So I'd be keen to try my one that's in the KWA and this one and see if that makes a difference, or just compare and see if there is any difference there, because hopefully that might be something we can do moving forwards. We've got our valve locker here. Very tough spring. I can see why that would be quite difficult. It is steel as well by the looks of things, and it is acting on the bottom here of the carrier. But that seems to all be working correctly, or at least seems to be anyway. So there we go, and then popping that down drops that back, so that seems to be good. No damage on the back of the striker here, which you do get with the KWA. Right, let's put this back together then for now. This top one was loose. Now, it's possible that the person who had this beforehand, because the other side was loose as well, knew about that trick from the KWA and just loosened this. Again, I didn't get this brand new. So I'm just going to torque it down. I say torque it down. I'm going to tighten them down. So it is just like it would be if you got it from the box. And we'll just see how it functions as is. There we go, that's all tight. So we've got some upgrades in there now. So we're going to pop this back into the body. I think before I do that, let's just compare the body to an AEG body. So I'll get that out and we'll have a look. Okay, so here's both of our lowers. This is the Krytac gas blowback lower. And actually, having looked inside this, I thought it was different. However, look inside the AEG one, which I've got, and as far as I can tell, they're basically identical. Differences I can see so far is there's this piece of sponge. No idea what that's for, but the AEG has the cutout for that anyway. I would say the mag catches appear to be identical. One of the main differences is if we look from the side profile here, you can see that the AEG has this little arm, which the gas blowback has as well, but it is different. The gas blowback has the little nub on the top, which the AEG does not. And obviously, if we look inside, the AEG does not have any kind of, you know, bolt catch or anything like that, whereas the gas blowback does have this little steel part for obviously catching the bolt and retaining it. However, there is your AEG body with the gas blowback internals fitted. So you could run the gas blowback internals inside, at least the lower. I haven't checked the upper, but to be fair, the upper is just an empty shell. Even if it was slightly different, it would just be a case of maybe realigning some holes, but I really doubt it would be any different. So there you go. If you did want to change colours and run a different coloured lower, you could do that on the gas blowback, no problem. So anyway, we're going to pop this back together now. Screw that back in. There we go. It's all weighed down. That is all down. And then what we need to then do is obviously put our screws back in, holding this together, and then we're going to change our block, which holds our bolt release in place as well. Here is our Bowmaster, I don't even know what they call it. What do they call it? Steel bolt lock assembly. So, I mean, do we need to change this? Not really. It doesn't really do anything. It is really just to hold this in place, which, to be honest with you, a piece of alley does just as good a job as a piece of steel would do here. But in saying that, it would be nice for it to have the real steel weight. So first things first, then, it looks like it's held in with a pin. I can see there's a pin here. So we're going to have to drive this pin out. There we go, pin is out. It didn't actually take that much at all. There is our bolt catch. We'll get the Bowmaster one out now. The Bowmaster one does have a spring, which I would say the spring is bigger. So there's the original, there's the Bowmaster one. Again, I'm not entirely sure why that's the case, it just is. So I'm going to use it. Now I was racking my brains while I was doing this why that spring would be longer and have more tension. But if you consider that Bowmaster do the heavier carrier, which obviously comes down into the lower, it would make sense that you would need a heavier spring to make that engage faster. So for a while I was a bit unsure why it had the heavier spring in it. Definitely feels better, but I guess it's to improve bolt retention when the carrier's coming forwards with extra weight. So that, I assume, is why. There we go, that pin is in. And yeah, that's a lot tighter. So that can go back in there. Yeah, that's much tighter. Okay, so I'm just gonna get these screws back in place. Nothing seems to be lining up just yet, so I think that's gonna be more of a problem. Trying to get everything lined up correctly. Probably because I haven't got the body screwed back in place yet. So actually, let's do that first. Yeah, I can see I'm sort of slightly off there. Right, so that's all in now. Hopefully this will line up now, hopefully. Yep, that's lining up. Torque all these down. There we go. Yep, that's nice, that. So, back on there. There we go. Yeah, nice, good. Okay, so that's that fitted. So we'll put our Bowmaster carrier in. Put that in there. There we go. So now we've got our Bowmaster steel charging handle. Okay, something's not quite right there. So this is when I discovered that the Bowmaster charging handle is ever so slightly different to the stock one. It took me a while to figure out what the problem was, and I'll just cut straight to the fix for it, because I'm sure you guys don't want to see 30 minutes of me messing around trying to figure out what the problem is. By this point, I tried a few things and so far hadn't figured out exactly what the problem was. So here I am just taking these apart, trying to figure out the differences between the two. Some of you might have already spotted the difference between the two, but I'm just checking with a sort of vernier caliper here, just to make sure all dimensions are correct. They appear to be okay, but you'll see in a moment what the main issue was. Yep, that's what's happening. So what's happening is, as I'm going to pull this back, this is hitting the, it's moving over slightly. You can see we've got movement side to side here, and it's hitting the, in here. I've got the bolt carrier out, so what we need to do is it's catching the upper. What's happening is, as I'm pulling this back, what's happening is it's pitching it this way. Again, it's in tolerances. So this is now just catching on the part of the upper that I showed you a moment ago. Now, if we look at the factory part, hopefully you can see this if I zoom you guys in a bit. Look at the factory part at the end. This is the factory one. We have a chamfer here. You can see that. This one, no chamfer. So again, this is just the aftermarket, not, you know, not copying the part properly. So we need to put a chamfer on to mirror this, and that should solve our problem. Guys, there we go. So there's my angle I've put on that. Hopefully you can see that okay. I've done a real smooth chamfer. I've filed it, I've wet and dried it. And that hopefully now will solve our issue. Fingers crossed. So we'll compare that to what we've got on the stock one. You can see it's definitely just an angle, whereas I've done more of a gradient here. So hopefully that will really help it run. Fingers crossed this time, everything should hopefully work. Hey, there we go. Yep, that all works nicely. All seeming to work okay there. So I think we'll try the mag now. So just got it on semi. Okay, quite fast, but not locking open. Now again, that could be that Bowmaster carrier. So I think we'll try the stock one. See what kind of a difference that makes. Sometimes you've got to just try something and see how it runs. Okay, straight away, yeah, locking open again. So that's good. So, yeah, the Bowmaster carrier, yeah, I'm not so sure. I mean, the fact that it's got such a heavy spring on it as well, it really is going to hurt efficiency. Yes, it would increase the cyclic rate, but I mean, it already runs pretty quick anyway, so I don't think we really needed that. But what we have got, upgrades-wise, is I have got some 3D printed parts. So let me go get those. Now, one issue that I know that people have been having with this is that it's short stroke to the point where a lot of the time it will stop it locking back and have feeding issues. So I think this is, if I'm correct, designed to increase the travel slightly. We've got a -2 and a -3 here. So this is -2 mil, -3 mil. So we'll have the carrier out and we'll compare them and see which ones are shorter. Now, I would imagine it's going to be this lower one that you're changing. Right, let's just have a look and see what, how deep this is. So this is currently at 13 mil, which you can see is a bit shorter than this one. A bit longer, so yeah, a bit shorter than that one. So basically this is too short stroked, is what they're basically saying here, and they're increasing the stroke, which hopefully will make it run a bit better. So that one you can see is ever so slightly longer. So yeah, that one's 14 mil. That one's 13 mil. So ever so slightly different height-wise. You can maybe just about see that if I put them together. There we go. So I think what I'm going to do is, so far I haven't had any issues with this, but I've been told that this dramatically improves efficiency. So I'm just going to go with the longest one, so which will obviously make the biggest difference. Now, to get this out, there is a roll pin. Unfortunately, that is a very small roll pin, and I might even have to just use a Allen key to knock this out. Just managed to get that out. Now, this is what we're faced with. We've got a little, I think it's a plastic washer, or is it metal? Plastic, I think. This is quite soft, malleable rubber. This one, you can see the difference in size there. So quite a bit shorter, which obviously means it's going to travel further. Now, by the looks of things, you don't need the washer for this one, so we're going to pop that in. I don't think we need the washer at all. I think that's just going to go straight in. So we'll try knocking it in. While I've been doing this as well, look what's happened. That piece that was bent has just sheared off. How annoying. Oh well, I knew it was going to happen sooner or later. Part of the reason why I bought this, but I think this is not going to be a lot of good, if I'm honest. I mean, you look how much more of a short stroke there is on that. It's quite a bit more than stock, actually, I think. Quite a bit more. So maybe I can reuse this bottom piece. I mean, I'd like to utilise this if I can, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. One thing I would like to do while I'm here is try and sort these rails out. Now, they're actually not too bad at the moment, but I know that someone's had a go at smoothing them off. But I know they're a problem. So we're going to do that in the meantime, and then I'll come back to you and see. You can see what I've done. Okay, guys, my apologies. I've just been sitting here talking, and the camera, for some reason, has stopped recording. So I'm sort of midway something at the moment, which I'll briefly touch on and explain what's going on. So what I've done so far is the carrier. These little ramps here is what the bolt little rollers sort of roll on. So what I've done is I've sanded these and mirror polished them, so they're nice and smooth now. So hopefully that will improve the functionality of the unit. I have used some graphite powder in here to make this nice and smooth, which it now is. Operates really smoothly, which is good. And I just started working on the nozzle. So what we're doing here is, what I got is, with all these parts, a Herphasis, I can't say that word. It's this thing, whatever this name is. Krytac Kriss Vector piston head. So I'm actually mid-taking the nozzle apart already. The Herphasis, whatever it's called, piston head, comes in two parts. You get two O-rings, so you get a spare, and this little collar here as well to fit it all in place, and some instructions on how to do it. So I'm just taking the nozzle apart at the moment. I just released the E-clip off the back, so E-clip can come out. And then I need to undo these two screws. One of them was a bit chewed, and it's this one here. So I need to do something about that, because it is going to make contact with the inside of the housing. So I'm just going to probably just sand that off so it's nice and smooth. So that's in there. We can take our nozzle out of here now, hopefully. There we go. So there's the cup style piston head I was talking about. Now, the rubber is really hard. It doesn't really expand much. And, in there is like no nozzle seal at all. So you can see this is that bit I said to you about that someone has filed off. You can see it's slightly curved at the top, hopefully. That's because they do have a problem with these where the nozzle sort of goes up and then it starts chewing at the top of the nozzle and causing jams. I have just sort of sanded this a little bit and smoothed the edge off so it's not as sharp. I'll run over it with some really fine wet and dry to make sure there's definitely nowhere it can catch there. So that will hopefully make that a bit better as well. I'll probably do all the way around the edge here just to make sure it's all good. I might hone the inside of here. I haven't decided yet. I'm tempted to try it and see how it is first, because it is a little gritty. The honing that I do, I'll show you what I use, but basically it's this thing. It's probably a bit large for this, but I think it will work. And basically what it's got on the end here are lots of little sort of grit stones, and you can hone the inside. The idea of honing is that you could mirror polish inside and it would probably give you a good seal, but they hone the inside of engines because it enables good lubrication. So it means that it can give a good seal, but also allow oil to travel up and down the honing marks inside. So I found good results with honing. Again, it is a little rough inside, so I think it would probably benefit from it. So I think I am going to just give it a little hone, nothing too crazy though, just so that we sort of clean it up, and then I need to give it a good clean before we put it back together. I'm trying to eliminate as much friction as I can. But we also want to try fitting the piston head now. So first things first, then we want to get our nozzle apart. So I'm going to need to take this back section off. So I should be able to push that pin out. There we go. There we go, that whole section comes out. So there's our valve and spring. There we go. It's not adjustable, so that's fine. Let's just rotate that back round so it's in position. Now, if you remember the other kit, this one actually came with a nozzle return spring, which was a lot snappier. Now, I might change it to that at some point, but I'm going to leave it stock for now, just because I want to, see if we can improve what we've already got, rather than, because at the end of the day, people are not going to buy that carrier just for that return spring. So I want to try and improve what we've got rather than just throwing parts at it. So first things first, I want to get this piston head off. And I must say, the rubber is really tough. That is never going to give a good seal. It's quite firm. It hasn't even got a flare on it. It's just a piece of rubber. So that's not very good. Now it does show on here how it's supposed to come, how it's supposed to go together. So it's supposed to go on that way. So that goes on there first. Then you slide this through afterwards, which centralizes it. And then we'll be able to push this back in position and then push the pin back through. And I must say, as nozzles go, this is a nice, easy one to work on. It is a full rip-off of the KWA though. The KWA one, pretty much identical to this, and how it comes apart and how it works. Okay, there we go, that's on. I'm going to give it a bit of an oil. Now, some will say that you don't want to be doing this because obviously you're going to end up, oil's going to end up going down into your barrel and hop unit. However, personally, I feel you do need a bit of oil just to help it lubricate and help it seal. A little bit on the back of that O-ring there as well. Right, so let's pop this back into position. Just gonna see if that's any better. Oh my God, straight away that is so much better. But it is tight down the end. So I think we could benefit from a hone. So I think I am just gonna briefly hone this. Just a quick pass, just so we can get it sealing a little bit better. I think that's probably a little bit, the honing tool's probably a little bit big for it, but hopefully it should go okay. So we're going to do that now. Okay, so this is the honing process. So I want to get the honing tool in Now, I want to get it as far as I can. Now, it's not really the right size for this, so I might end up causing myself some issues. So, yeah, it's not really going in there great. I'm going to try again. Ah, there we go, that's a bit better. Right. Give it a bit of a nip there. Okay, and what we've done is just gone back and forth a little bit there. And what we'll do is I'll just do a little bit of an oil again. You can already see it's shiny inside there now, so it's removed the coating. It is taking some material off, but not loads. Right, guys, we've got this all cleaned up then, guys. So hopefully you can see in here the honing. Let's just zoom you in a bit. So there's our honing marks. Now again, it's very, very fine, but it is super, super smooth in there now. So that will really help give us a good seal, fingers crossed. So now, what we're going to do, reinstall our nozzle. So we want a little bit of oil in there, just to help it. And again, the whole idea of the honing process is to assist with giving us a good seal, an oil seal. So we'll just offer that up in there, run that up and down in there a little bit. Okay, seems good. All right, we can now put our E-clip back in. There we go. Now we need to put these screws back in, but again, I've got one of these which has got a damaged head, and I also want to just finish off these edges a little bit. So I'm going to use a little bit of wet and dry paper. Okay, so they're good. I'm going to oil up these rollers where they go, like so. There we go. Oh, that one's nice. Okay, so there we go. So there's our... Oh, I can already hear. You can hear the seal there is loads better. That should make a big difference, hopefully. Right, okay, so we're going to pop this back in then for now. Okay. Oh, that is lovely and smooth there. So after some hand racking, what I think we'll do is we'll try it out and see what we get. We've still got a few things we can do to this to try and improve it. So again, I'm just going to hold the bolt release in, and we'll just try a few semi-shots. Locking back, no problem. It's definitely a lot louder than it was. We'll go on double tap. And we'll go on full auto. We were getting some gas out of the port. The mag's cold, but the bolt is not cold. The bolt is normal temperature there, which is good, because before it was really bad. We were getting so much cool down, it was just freezing up. So that's good. So what I think we'll do then is we'll now regas the mag, and we'll try it as we did before with green gas and see how many shots we get out of one charge. Okay guys, so we're back with the Krytac Vector today. I've done all the upgrades that I've got for it. However, I did leave out the buffer system, the Bowmaster one, because it was steel and a lot heavier, and it wasn't recycling as well, so I've left that out. But I have fitted the longer stroke buffer in there to assist it, so that we've got a little bit more travel, so you don't get in as much sort of feed jams. So what I thought we'd do is we'd do another efficiency test. Now we've got a slightly better seal, and see how we do. Yeah, that seems full, so that's good. Okay, so what I thought we'd do then is we'll just single semi-auto until we get a gas out. So I'll be holding the bolt catch down and we'll just see how we go. So 1, 2, 3. Right, so we've just done 50 there in semi-auto, and you can see we've got a firm lock back. No problem at all. So far, running good. Mag is pretty cold. Let's see if we can get another 50. There's another 50, so that's 100. So, and we've got a firm lock back on that as well. So let's see how many more we can get. Let's go for another 20. Again, we've got another 20 there. So we're now at 120. Let's go for another 20. I can feel it's running low. Let's see if we can get another 20. Okay, there's another 20. So we're now at 140 out of one magazine. See if we can get another 10. Okay, didn't get a lock back there with that one. So we're getting 140 shots out of one magazine fill with a lock back. What the FPS is doing, I don't know, but at the end of the day, it should still be reasonably efficient and reasonably good because we're still getting a lock back here. See if it will lock back again. Yep, so I've just let the magazine recover there. We've got a lock back. I imagine we're going to be quite close to the limit of what we're going to get out of this. So we'll go for another 5, see if we get a lock back. Okay, didn't get a lock back on that 5th one. So yeah, we're really at the limit of what it can do. The mag is very cold. So what, we're probably at 160 now, let's say. Let's just keep going until it gasses out then. Okay, so we're getting it now going into auto because it's so low on gas. Now we're over 200 shots out of one gas fill there. The mag is very cold, but we're at over 200 there, easily. So you can see with that different nozzle seal, that's made a hell of a difference. The honing might have made a bit of a difference as well. It's worth bearing in mind, all I've done performance-wise to this, because a lot of what I've done so far has been sort of for aesthetics, so steel charging handle, steel barrel, steel bolt lock mount. The only major performance upgrades I've done is the O-ring style piston head. So, you know, I've also lengthened the travel on the bolt with the slightly shorter buffer. But other than that, that's it. So, and with over 200 shots. Now, I can't remember what the original one was, but I'm sure I'll put it up on screen here now, or I'll refer back to it. But it's substantially better than it was in that respect. So, a lot better. There are obviously a few other bits and pieces we can do. I've just checked the accuracy, and it still seems pretty good. Hardly had to adjust the hop at all. So, yeah, so far, I'm pretty impressed. I say this has had a lot of stick from people recently. Maybe I've got a good one. Worth bearing in mind, I've got it used, so it's very possible that the previous owner might have sorted out some of the issues that this came with. But so far, yeah, I'm pretty impressed. We're running over 200 shots on one gas fill. I've only got the one magazine at the moment as well, so it's not even like it could be argued that there's, you know, another magazine helping it along. So yeah, Really impressed with it so far. Other tests I want to try and do is I want to do another full auto test. The cooldown is, you know, quite severe. However, in saying that, the bolt itself is not that cold. The magazine, yeah, freezing. But the bolt actually not that cold at all. So all the cooldowns obviously happening in the magazine here, which is obviously, you know, what happens. But when we were running in auto previously, and even fast semi-auto, we were getting issues with the bolt being frozen. So hopefully this is something that we've improved upon with that better seal. I also did the honing inside the bolt to try and give it a better seal as well. So fingers crossed, these sort of improvements we've made have really changed this. And it just goes to show that some upgrades do make a wild difference. If you've got something which is already a good platform, throwing upgrades at it really aren't going to make a big difference. But here we could identify straight away that there was quite a significant design choice made with this, which just really didn't lend it to being efficient, whereas we clearly seem to have improved that here, which is great. So any questions, fire away in the comments. Obviously, if you have anything you'd like to recommend on the Vector, or there's something you'd like for me to try, then obviously do let me know in the comments. I read every one. So any questions, anything you want to ask, fire away in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.